Vince was in the hotel bar with us every night. If he was at a show, he was in the hotel bar and he was sending the click drinks and me because I was the click chick.
Right.
So I'd be sitting there with Shawn and there'd be Kevin and Scott and the other Shawn and Hunter, and we'd be sitting there and a waitress would come over with a tray of scotch and sodas for us, and Vince would be at the bar waving. So yeah, Vince bought everybody drinks.
How did the HBK romance blossom?
Well, okay, you remember when he got his ass kicked in Syracuse?
Yes.
Okay. I was in my hotel room, and there's a knock on the door. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm in my pajamas. I wake up, and I go open the door. It's Davey Boy, who was one of my best friends on the road. And he's like, you got to come next door. Shawn got hurt. It's like, oh, and Shawn was right in the next room. So I go in the room. First of all, Davey starts laughing at me because I'm wearing pink plaid Victoria's Secret flannel pajamas, and he just starts laughing at me. Thanks, Davey.
What's wrong with that?
I know. He was laughing at me. So I go in the next room, and there's Shawn sitting on the end of the bed, and he's like wobbling and rocking like this, and he's got a cut under his eye that's bleeding. He's bleeding out from the inside of his ear, and he wasn't even coherent, but he's still sitting up, but he's wobbling. So I was like, oh, this isn't good. So Davey's like, oh, I'll just put him to bed. He'll be fine. I said, no, if it was just a cut on his face, yeah, I'd say put him to bed, but there's blood coming out from the inside of his ear. We got to get him checked. So I went to the hospital in the ambulance with him. I sat there for 9 hours with him all night long. I ordered a plastic surgeon to stitch up his face because his face is his money.
Right.
You know, ordered a plastic surgeon. They did the MRIs and everything, and they said his brain is fine. He didn't even have a concussion. They said he was probably kicked in the ear. It caused a little cut, and that's where the blood was coming from. Okay, so because I sat in the hospital with him all night, I don't know if he had this like Nurse Nightingale thing or something like that, but he was just like, I can't believe you sat with me all night and you took care of me and you ordered the plastic surgery. I'm like, well, it's what friends do, you know? I would do that for anybody. Meanwhile, all the boys went back out to drink more. They didn't give a shit. They didn't come to the hospital. They didn't see if he was okay. They dropped him off and went back out.
Wow.
I go to the hospital with him. So after that, he was given like a month off the road, and I was talking to him every day. We were talking, and like I would call him, make sure he was okay. If he was asleep, his mom would pick up, and I'd be talking to his mom for like an hour. She went there to take care of him and stay with him because he was really rocked for a while. So he comes back to work, and I'm looking through a curtain watching the show, and he's standing right behind me, like looking over my head, watching the curtain, because we're all lined up against the curtain watching the show. And all of a sudden, he pushes up against me. He goes, you feel that? And of course, he was hard, and he's pushing up against my butt. I'm like, yeah, I do. And that was the beginning of the end. So that night, we went off and found an empty locker room, did our thing, and that's how it all started.
Where was Chris at the time? Were you traveling together still?
We were still traveling together because it wasn't really anybody's business if we split up.
Right.
So on the road, we still looked like we were together. We traveled together, we stayed together, you know. But as soon as we got home, he would either go to his mom's or dad's or a hotel, and I would go home. We weren't even living together.
Okay.
We were split. We needed a break. I needed a break. He, of course, I don't think he wanted a break, but I needed a break. Right. I mean, he was the first person I ever had sex with. I was 17 years old, lost my virginity to him. We were together for, it was almost the 7-year mark. Mm-hmm. And it was like, I had the itch. You know what I mean? I was kind of tired of being in the same thing, mm-hmm. and I wanted to see what was out there.
Did he have the itch as well, or was...
No, he worshipped the ground I walked on.
Right. Right.
Worshipped the ground I walked on. He did not have an itch. So we split up for a little while, and that's when I was seeing Shawn.
Okay. How did he handle that?
We never spoke about it.
Okay.
We never spoke about it. I'm sure he knew. How could he not know?
Right.
But we never spoke about it.
Okay.
Never. But we still traveled on the road. We'd go to the airport together, take our flights together, travel together, drive together. So to the crew and the company, it looked like we were still together, but we weren't.
Was Shawn worried that Chris was going to give him any trouble?
Shawn's ego was out of control.
I can imagine.
He didn't like that I was still sharing a room with Chris, even though nothing was happening with Chris. I wasn't having sex with him. We were just like sharing a room.
Right.
And I usually slept in the other bed.
Right.
He didn't like that. He didn't like that we were riding together. He didn't like a lot of stuff. And it came down to finally after like 9 months of, you know, kind of sneaking around together all the time, because we'd find empty rooms in arenas and have sex. We were like high schoolers. We couldn't get enough. And then at night we'd check into our hotels. Like I would always make the hotel reservations for the clique. That was my job. I was like travel girl.
Right.
So I would book like 5 hotel rooms at whatever hotel I was going to, because I always had this hookup with discounts. I got 50% off like Hyatt's, Hilton's, Marriott's.
Is that why they gave you the job?
Well, that's why, it was my job, because I got a really good deal for everybody.
Right.
So I would always book 5 rooms under my name, and everybody would know that when they show up to the hotel, I tell them what hotel. They just ask for the reservation for Sytch, and they would each get their room. Kevin, Shawn, Triple H, Shawn, and Scott would always just bounce around and stay with someone. And then I had a room. I always had the 5th room. So, we would get back to the hotel. I'd check in. Chris would go to sleep, and I'd go into Shawn's room.
Right.
And then I'd go back and go to sleep in my room. It was just, that was our routine. That's what we did. So about 9 months into it, Shawn was building a new house in San Antonio, because he was living up Fort Worth when this was all going on. But he's building this new house, and his mom and I actually picked out colors for the floors and the cabinets and the countertops. I helped his mom like design the inside of this house. And then the house is almost done, and I'm on the phone with Shawn because we had a couple of days off. He goes, "I want you to move in with me." And I was like, okay, this is like a huge step. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, this would be awesome. Move to San Antonio, live with Shawn, who knows what could happen from there. And I said to myself, if I do this, Chris will kill himself, because that will basically be the final break with Chris if I moved in with Shawn.
I was going to ask you that, like, because he was kind of like in his mind, like
Right.
making believe this wasn't happening.
Exactly.
With a step like that.
Exactly.
That's pretty dramatic.
If I moved in with Shawn, Chris would have known, okay, it's totally over now, and he probably would have killed himself. Because
Right.
like I said, he worshipped the ground I walked on. So in my heart, I couldn't do that. So I told Shawn I couldn't move in, and his ego was just like, it was like a shotgun to his ego, because he was like, wait a minute, hold on. You're picking him over me?
I was going to say,
I'm
you
the
told
heartbreak kid.
him the reasoning,
Yeah.
and he couldn't handle it.
He couldn't handle that. So it was the very next trip we had together. It was a couple days later. Shawn and I were booked on the NATP convention in Vegas. It's the National Association of Television Producers and Executives. So we would go there and like try to sell the show to like syndicates and
heard of
stuff
it.
like that. This is long before everything became nationwide. So we'd go, and Shawn and I were working the booth, and the whole Vegas trip, we're there for 3 days. Everything's normal, And but it was just Shawn and me, so we're sharing a room, we're having every meal together, we're doing everything together like a couple would. And then the last night there, we go to this really nice steakhouse, we have a great dinner, and we go back up to his room, and he sits down in the bed, and that's when he ended it. I was shocked. I was like,
I was
what?
going to say that it came out of
like,
nowhere.
what? Out of nowhere, because the whole Vegas trip was fine.
How did he put it? Like,
I don't remember his exact words, because I started getting like hysterical.
Right.
I was crying. I was upset. I was like, my heart was broken, But I don't remember the exact words he said, but it was basically because I was choosing to like because basically I wanted my cake and eat it too.